Good morning, children. So we'll move to the next chapter, traders, kings, and the pilgrims. So let us see how to find out about the trade and the traders in those days. So Jagani is at the market. Jagani looked forward to the fair in the village. She loved to see and touch the pots and pans of shiny steel, bright plastic buckets, cloth printed with brilliant floral designs and clockwork ties, all of which came from the city. So she was very much when Jagani had gone to the fair, Jatra, right? That time she saw lot of the things, that is the pots and the pans, shiny steel, bright and plastic buckets, cloth printed with brilliant floral designs and the clockwork toys, all of which came from where? From the city. So this all the things had come from where? From the city it had come. The men who spread out their wares came in buses and trucks and went back at the end of the day. So the persons, the men who spread out their wares, means the things they had come where? Wares means the goods and services which they had brought, that they had brought in the buses and the trucks, and they went back at the end of the day. Why were they always on the move? Why they were always moving? She wondered. Her mother explained that they were the traders. So her mother told them that they were the traders. Traders means who are involved in the buying and selling of the goods and services. People who bought the things where they were made. So people were bringing the things that were made and sold them elsewhere. So let us see how to find out about the trade and the traders. You read about the northern black polished ware in chapter 8. This fine pottery, especially bowls and plates, were found from several archaeological sites throughout the subcontinent. Subcontinent means where there are the river plains are found. There it is found out. So this is what about the fine pottery, especially what they were. They were the bowls and the plates. Let us see how do you think it reached these places. So how does it reach the places? Let us see. Traders may have carried them from places where they were made to sell them at other places. So traders have carried them from the places where they were made to sell them at the other places. South India was famous for gold, spices, especially pepper and precious stones. Pepper was particularly valued in the Roman Empire, so much that it was known as the black gold. So in the Roman Empire, pepper was treated like the black gold. So traders carried many of these goods to Rome in ships across the sea. So traders, what they were doing, they were carrying these goods to the Rome. In what form? They were transporting it in the ships across the sea, and by land in the caravans. So they were transporting these gold, these spices, gold, pepper, precious stones in the caravans also by lands. Caravans ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಚಾರಿಯಟ್ಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಇರ್ತಿದ್ರಿ, ಅದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಮಾನುಗಳನ್ನು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟು ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. There must have been quite a lot of trade, as many Roman gold coins have been found in the South India. So in the South India, there was a trading with what? With the Romans. So only till today we are finding in the South India, what we are finding? We are finding the Roman coins, Roman gold coins. So let us see next one, a poem about trade. We can find evidence of trade in the Sangam poems. Here is one which describes the goods brought into Puhar, an important port on the east coast. Here are brought swift, prancing horses by sea in ships, bales of black pepper in carts, gems and gold born in the Himalayas, sandalwood born in the western hills, the pearls of the southern seas, and the corals from the eastern oceans. the yield of the Ganga and the crops from the Kaveri, foodstuffs from Sri Lanka, pottery from Myanmar, and other rare and rich imports. So here we can see the swift and as well as the prancing horses by sea in ships, bales of the black pepper in the carts, gems and gold born in the Himalayas, sandalwood born in the western hills, the pearls of the southern seas and corals from the east oceans, the yield of the Ganga and the crops of the Kaveri. So here we are seeing the black pepper, we are seeing the gems and the gold, we are seeing the sandalwood, and we are seeing the pearls of the southern seas, and we are seeing the corals from the eastern oceans, the yield of the Ganga and the crops from the Kaveri. So we are seeing the yield, whatever the yield it is coming from the Ganga river and the crops of the Kaveri. Foodstuffs from Sri Lanka, pottery from Myanmar. So foodstuffs are also coming from where? From the Sri Lanka, and pottery from the Myanmar, and other rare and the rich imports are there. Traders explored several sea routes, some of these followed the coast. So what happened here? Traders explored several sea routes. They saw that several sea routes coming up which were connecting the India. Some of these followed the coast. So some of them were following what? The coast. There were other across the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. So what were there? They were across what? Arabian Sea as well as the Bay of Bengal, where sailors took advantage of the monsoon winds to cross the seas more quickly. So what happened here? They were coming from the sea routes were of the Arabian Sea and from the Bay of Bengal, where the sailors took what? The advantage of the monsoon winds to what? To cross the seas more quickly. So if they wanted to reach the western coast of the subcontinent from East Africa or Arabia, they chose to sail with the southwest monsoon, and sturdy ships had to be built for these long journeys. So what happened here? If they wanted to reach the western coast of the subcontinent from East Africa or Arabia, what they did? They chose to sail with the southwest monsoon. They had to sail their goods to the southwest monsoon, and sturdy ships had to be built for these long journeys. New kingdoms along the coast. The southern half of the subcontinent is marked by a long coastline and with hills, plateaus and river valleys. Amongst the river valleys, that of Kaveri is the most fertile. So among the river valleys, which is the most fertile? Kaveri is the most fertile. Chiefs and kings who controlled the river valleys and the coast became the rich and powerful. So the chiefs and the kings who controlled the river valleys as well as the coast, what they became? They became the rich and powerful. How? Because in the subcontinent it was marked by what? By long coastal line with the hills and plateaus and the river valleys. So because of that, the irrigation was very good, and as you see in the Kaveri is the most fertile land. Chiefs and kings who control the river valleys and the coast, which they became the rich and powerful. Sangam poems mention the Muvendar. This is a Tamil word meaning the three chiefs. So Muvendar means here meaning is the chief, three chiefs, and used for the heads of the three ruling families. So it is used for the heads of the three ruling families, the Cholas, Cheras and the Pandyas. So these were the new kingdoms and the coast. In the coast, the new kingdoms had been formed along the coast. Who were they? They were the three ruling families, that were the Cholas, Cheras and the Pandyas, who became powerful in South India around 2300 years ago. So what they became? They had become the most powerful kings in the South India around what? Around 2300 years ago. Each of the three chiefs had two centers of power, one inland and one on the coast. So each of the three chiefs, what they had? They had two centers of power, one inland and one on the coast. Of these 6 cities, 2 were important. Of the 6 cities, how many were important? 2 were very important. Puhar or Kaveri Pattanam, the port of the Cholas, and Madurai, and the capital of the Pandyas. So all these 6 cities were the important cities. So what are they? Puhar or Kaveri Pattanam, the port of the Cholas, and Madurai, and the capital of the Pandyas. The chiefs did not collect regular taxes. The chiefs were not collecting the regular taxes, right? Instead, they demanded and received the gifts from whom? From the people. The chiefs were not collecting the regular taxes. Instead of that, what they were doing? They were demanding and receiving what? The gifts from the people. Collected tribute from neighboring areas. They were collecting the tribute. Tribute means what? Some of the important, precious things from where? From the neighboring areas. They kept some of the wealth and distributed the rest among their supporters, including members of the family, soldiers, and the poets. So they kept some of the wealth with them and they distributed the rest what? Among their supporters, including the members of their family, soldiers, and the poets. Many poets whose compositions are found in the Sangam collection composed poems in praise of chiefs who often rewarded them with precious stones. So many poets, what they had done? They had composed the poems. So in what? In the praise of the chiefs, in the praise of their kings and all, they had composed the poem. And also what they did? They were getting the rewards from the chiefs in the form of what? Precious stones, gems, jewelry. Stones ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳು, ಪಚ್ಚೆ ಕಲ್ಲು, ವಜ್ರ, ಹವಳ, like that, gems they were getting, precious stones, right? Pearls, heralds, and all they were getting. Gold, horses, elephants, chariots, and fine cloth. So they were also getting what? They were getting the gold, they were getting the horses, elephants, chariots, as well as the fine cloth. Around 200 years later, a dynasty known as the Satavahans became powerful in Western India. So around 200 years later, what happened? A dynasty known as the Satavahans became powerful in the Western India. The most important ruler of the Satavahans was the Gautami Putra. So the most important ruler of the Satavahanas was whom? Was the Gautami Putra. Sri Satakarni. The most important ruler of Satavahanas was Gautami Putra Sri Satakarni. Right? He named his dynasty after his mother Gautami. So only he is called what? Gautami Putra Sri Satakarni. Right? Because his mother was a great warrior and she had trained him in such a way that he became the most powerful king of the South India. So he named himself after his mother, called Gautami Putra Sri Satakarni. We know about him from an inscription composed on behalf of his mother. So his mother had what done? The most powerful, his mother had written an inscription, was composed on behalf of what? On behalf of his mother, right? There were writings. Gautami Balashri, he and other Satavahana rulers were known as the lords of the Dakshina Pataha. So Gautami Balashri, he and other Satavahana rulers were known as the lords of the Dakshina Pataha. Literally the route leading to the south, which was also used as a name for the entire southern region. He sent his army to the eastern, western, and the southern. So he sent his army to where? To the eastern and western southern coast, right? He was here. His mother has written an inscription composed of the Satavahana rulers. So how did the Satavahana rulers ruled the South India, right? It was all about it. And his mother name was Gautami Balashri. and other Satavahana rulers were known as the lords of the Dakshinapataha. They were known as the lords, they were known as the kings of the Dakshina, means the South India. Literally the route leading to the south, which was also used as the name of for the entire southern region. So literally this name was used for what? For the entire southern region. He sent his army to where? To the eastern, western and the southern coast, right? Next one is the story of the silk route. The rich glossy colors of silk as well as its smooth texture made it a highly valued fabric in most societies. So the rich glossy colors of the silk as well as its smooth texture made it what? It a highly valued fabric in most societies. Making silk is a complicated process. So making silk was a complicated process. It was not an easy process for the people to do it. So the rich glossy colors of the silk as well as its smooth structure make it what? A highly valued fabric in the most societies. Making silk is a complicated process. So the raw silk has to be extracted from the cocoons of the silkworms. So how you are going to make the silk? Let us see the process here. First what you have to do, you have to bring the raw silk. Raw silk has to be extracted from whom? From the cocoons of the silkworms. Cocoons nodrilla round shape hinga gunda irtava, that is silkworms. Spun into thread and then woven into cloth. So what they have to be done afterwards? You have removed the silk from the silkworms. What you have to do? Excuse me. Spun into thread. You have to make the threads of it and then you have to weave into the cloth. Then you have to start weaving it into the cloth. Techniques of making silk were first invented in China around 7,000 years ago. So technique of making the silk was first invented where? In China. Around how many years ago? 7,000 years ago. While the methods remained in a closely guarded secret for thousands of years. So while the methods remained closely guarded secret for thousands of years, because China people did not leak the secret of making the silk. Some people from China who went to distant lands on foot, horseback and on camels carried silk with them. So what happened? Some people from China who went to distant lands means in the far lands, on foot, horseback and on camels carried what? Silk with them. They were carrying the silk with them. The paths they followed came to be known as the silk route. So the path that they were following, they came to be known as what? Silk route. Sometimes Chinese rulers sent gifts of silk to the rurals in Iran and West Asia, and from there the knowledge of silk spread further west. So what happened? The Chinese rulers, they started sending the gifts of silk to whom? To the rulers in the Iran and the West Asia, and from there the knowledge of silk spread further west. So the Chinese rulers, what they did? They sent the gifts of the silk to whom? To the rulers in the Iran and West Asia, and from there what happened? The knowledge of silk spread further west. About 2000 years ago, wearing silk became the fashion amongst the rulers and the rich people in the Rome. So what happened? Wearing the silk saris, what it became the fashion among the rulers and rich people in the Rome. It was very expensive. So wearing the silk sari, it was very expensive, as it had to be brought all the way from China. So as it was to be brought all the way from the China along the dangerous roads through mountains and deserts. So as it was made to be brought away from the China and along what? Along the dangerous roads through mountains and the deserts. Through mountains and the desert it was brought all along. People living along the route often demanded payments for allowing the traders to pass through. So people living along the route, what they did? They often demanded payments for allowing the traders to pass through that one. Right, to pass through the dangerous roads of the China. Look at map 6, 76-77, which shows the Silk Route and its branches. So this is the Silk Route, right, and its branches are also there. Some kings tried to control the large portions of the route. They tried, what they tried for? They tried to control large portions of the route. This was because they could benefit from the taxes. They could benefit them from what? From the taxes. For that sake, they had sent the Silk Routes and its branches. This was because they could benefit from taxes, tributes and gifts that were brought by traders traveling along the route. So this was why, because they could get benefit from what? From the taxes and the tributes and the gifts that were brought by whom? By the traders traveling along the route. In return, they often protected the traders who passed through their kingdoms from attacks of the robbers. So what happened? These people were giving them these people were giving the king the tax and the tributes and the gifts which were brought by the traders, and the travelers, when they were walking or when they were moving along the sea routes, that time the kings were giving them protection by whom? By the robbers, from the attacks of the robbers. ಇವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿ? ಅವರಿಗೆ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ನ ಸೆಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ನ ಸೆಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಮತ್ತು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಪ್ರೆಷಸ್ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಟ್ರೇಡರ್ಸ್ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು? ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ? ದೇ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ರಾಬರ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ traders, right? Protection was given by whom? By the king to the whom? To the traders. The best known of the rulers who controlled the Silk Route were the Kushanas, who ruled over Central Asia and Northwest Asia around 2000 years ago. So the best known of the rulers who controlled the Silk Route and were the Kushanas, who ruled over what? Central Asia and the Northwest India. Around many years, 2000 years ago, they have ruled them. There were two major centers of power were Peshawar and Mathura. So Peshawar and Mathura, these were the two important center or the major centers of the trade. During their rule, a branch of the Silk Route extended from the Central Asia down to the seaports at the mouth of the river Indus, from where silk was shipped westwards to the Roman Empire. So what happened during their rule? A branch of the Silk Route extended from where? From the Central Asia down to the seaports at the mouth of the river Indus, from where the silk was shipped westwards to the Roman Empire. The Kushanas were amongst the earliest rulers of the subcontinent to issue gold coins. They were used by traders along the sea route. So who were the first rulers who had issued the gold coins? They were the Kushanas. So Kushanas were the first kings or the first rulers who had issued the gold coins. These were used by traders along the Silk Route. So they were using the traders were using the gold coins along the sea routes. They were transporting the gold coins along the sea routes. Next one is the spread of the Buddhism. The most famous Kushana ruler was Kanishka, who ruled around 1900 years ago. He organized a Buddhist council where scholars met and discussed important matters. So the most famous, the spread of Buddhism, right? Kushanas, they spread the Buddhism. Right, the most famous Kushana ruler was Kanishka, who ruled around how many years ago? 1900 years ago. He organized a Buddhist council where scholars met and discussed about the important matters. They were discussing, all the scholars in the Buddhist council, what they were doing. They had organized, right? Now how you have the council of ministers, cabinet of ministers, like that there were Buddhist council of ministers where all the scholars were meeting and they were discussing the important matters of the Ashwaghosha, a poet who composed a biography of the Buddha Charita, lived in his court. So this Ashwaghosha, a poet, right? He was a poet who has written a biography about how Buddha lived, right? And how was he, what are all his teachings and all. It is written in what? In one book. He has written it in one book called the Buddha Charita. Who used to live in his court, means he used to live with the Buddha. Ashwaghosha and other Buddhist scholars now began writing in Sanskrit. Now they started a new form of language they had discovered, and they started all the things writing in the Sanskrit. A new form of Buddhism known as Mahayana Buddhism now developed. So during the rule of Kushanas, what we saw, a new era of the Buddhism or a new form of Buddhism had developed, and it is called as the Madhya Mahayana Buddhism. Right, this had two distinct features. Earlier, the Buddha's presence was shown in the sculpture by using certain signs. For instance, his attainment of enlightenment was shown by sculptures of the peepal tree. Here you can see peepal tree, right? This is the tree where you can see how Buddha got enlightenment, means how he came to know about the truth of the God. That we call it as an enlightenment. So he had come it to know under the peepal tree. Now statues of the Buddha were made. Many of these were made in Mathura, while others were made in the Takshila. So many of the sculptures, many of his statues were made where? In the Mathura, while others were made where? In the Takshila. The second change was a belief in bodhisattvas. So the second change was what was that? People started believing, or say people started showing the devotion towards what? Bodhisattvas. Let us see, these were supposed to be persons who had attained enlightenment. Once they had attained enlightenment, they could live in complete isolation and meditate in peace. So these bodhisattvas, these were the people who had attained the enlightenment like Buddha. Right, now they could live in the complete isolation and meditate in peace. Isolation means they were living alone and they were meditating in peace. Meditating what? The God in the peace. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಜ್ಞಾನ. However, instead of doing that, they remained in the world to teach and help other people. So there, some of them were what they did. They remained in the world where the people were living and started helping the other people. The worship of bodhisattvas became very popular and spread throughout the Central Asia, China, and later to Korea and Japan. So people started worshipping them. People started thinking that these are the people who are sent by the God to what? To develop the mentality, to develop the people's thinking about the good things in the society, helping others in the society, helping nature should be developed, and people should give importance for the humanity and mankind. Instead of becoming the thinking themselves to become rich and all, they should concentrate on their humanity and the mankind. Buddhism also spread to western and southern India. Now Buddhism has spread where? To the western and the southern India, where dozens of caves were hollowed out of hills for monks to live in. So they were living, these monks, sannyasigalu, where they were living? They were living in the caves. So dozens of caves were made in the hills. ಬೆಟ್ಟಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊರೆದು ಗುಹೆಗಳನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, where these monks can go and live. Some of these caves were made on the orders of the kings and queens. So some of these caves were made whom? On the orders of the king and the queen. Others by merchants and farmers. So others were made by whom? By the merchants as well as on the order of the farmers. These were often located near passes through the Western Ghats. So near the Western Ghats we can see the caves of the Buddhist monks. Roads connecting prosperous ports on the coast with cities in the Deccan ran through these passes. So here they were connected to the roads. They were connected to the prosperous ports on the coast with the cities. They were all connected with the cities. So here you can see these monks. What you can see? Statues you can see here. Traders probably halted in these cave monasteries during their travels. So what they had done it, this Buddhist monks, they had made the cave monasteries, ashramas, guhe ashrama. So where the traders can take the rest. Traders andre niಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು, merchants, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಸ್ಥರು, while doing the trade they will get what? Tired. So sometimes they can rest in these monasteries. They can take shelter in these cave monasteries. Buddhism also spread southeastwards to Sri Lanka. Now you can see Buddhism has already spread to where? Here you can see the countries like Central Asia, China, Korea and Japan. Now where the Buddhism has spread? Now Buddhism has spread to the southeastwards to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand and other parts of the Southeast Asia, including what? Indonesia. So here all the countries we are seeing that the Buddhism has spread. The older form of Buddhism known as Theravada Buddhism was more popular in these areas. So the Theravada Buddhism was what? It was most popular in these areas, right? The best known of these are the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims Faxian, who came to subcontinent around 1600 years ago, Zhuang Shang, who came around 1400 years ago, and I King, who came about 50 years after Xuan Zhang. They came to visit places associated with the life of the Buddha as well as famous monasteries. So they had all come here to visit, to see the life of the Buddha as well as the famous monasteries. Monasteries means ashramavasigalu, right? All the monks. Each of these pilgrims left an account of his journey. So each of the pilgrims, what they had done, they had left the account of the journey. Account of the journey of whom? Of these monks, right? They wrote of the dangers they encountered on their travels, which often took years, of the countries and the monasteries that they visited, and the books they carried back with them. So each of these pilgrims, what it had done, it had left an account of his journey. So account of the journey, whatever they were doing, the journeys, each of these pilgrims means the places, the temples, they had record of the journey of the traders and the merchant. They wrote of the dangers they encountered on their travelers. So what happened? Whenever the merchants or the traders, they were coming for the trade, to trade the silk route, gems, jewelries, right, gold coins, right. When they were bringing all these important things of ivory, silver from the other country to India, that time they are going to face lot of the dangers, right. There were people who were coming to rob the things, right. They were attacked by the robbers. They were attacked sometimes by the wild animals. That time who were giving them shelter? It was the monasteries who were giving them shelter. Sometimes they can become tired also after doing the long journey from the sea coast, right. And after that they used to take rest where? In these monasteries, cave monasteries. They used to meet the monks. They used to learn the lessons from the monks, right? Whenever they visited and they used to carry the good books which were written by these monks back with them, so that they cultivate the good habit or the good features, right? How to live in the society, how we should be, how should we lead our society, that all the things they were carrying with them by meeting these monks, right? Which monks? Buddhist monks. They had spread all over the India, not only in the India, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, and Korea and Japan. We were seeing all these monks. They were living where? On the through the Western Ghats, roads connecting prosperous ports on the coast and with the cities in the Deccan. So all these important areas they were living. They were living along the Western Ghats. They were living where? In the caves, in the hills they were living, where they have converted it into the hills were converted into the caves, where the cave monasteries were built, so that the traders can take rest in these cave monasteries, as also the Buddhist monks can live in these monasteries, right? Okay children, further I will continue in the next class. Further things I will continue it in the next class. Okay children, thank you.